Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, I am going to be showing off a game I purchased just before the holidays, Advanced Song of Blades and Heroes. So this particular game is really my first delving into tabletop miniature wargaming, and this one is kind of a smaller scale, so it's a fantasy skirmish, and so the units, the size of the units that you're using are smaller and I think much more manageable. I'm also looking to modify the gameplay so that it can be played solo, and the small size of the units actually helps that out as well. So I'm going to start by giving a little bit more background. I've been waiting to do this video for quite some time, but when I first decided that I was going to give the tabletop miniature gaming, a go at it, I had a setup of a snack table with a trifold presentation board, as the main surface, and then I had already purchased one of these play mats, and this play mat here is it's double-sided. It's squares on one side, 1 inch squares on one side, and on the other side is the hex, 1 inch hexes, and overall it's I believe it's like 23 by 27 inches in full, unfolded size. And when I was looking at this game and looking at the different sizes, and I'll actually flip to that and show that to you, I started realizing that that setup that I had was actually going to be too small. So let me just briefly flip through the book and show you what I'm dealing with here. And so this here is the book. I gotta readjust this a little bit. So this is the book, and you can see it's it's not a tremendously thick book, fully contained, and fully contained game system in about 84 pages. No, let's say 88 pages, with a quick reference at the last page. So here we go, and we go into, the core rule handbook, and it talks about the process that the author used to produce the game. So it started out in a Kickstarter, I believe, around 2015-ish or somewhere around there. But you can see beautiful, beautiful art inside this book as well, and it's a nice sturdy book. It's not going to fall apart. It's print on demand, so it will come to you, locally, and like I said, very, very pretty, nice artwork in here. Small, map of the world that this is taking place in, and pretty detailed, table of contents. There is quite a lot of rules involved in this game, but as a solo, you can trim these down, or as you're learning the game, you can slowly integrate more and more rules. So here we get into the background, and the background for this game is the same as the lore and the the backstory of For Against Darkness. So same developer, same author of both game systems. So this takes place in the lands of Norendal, and goes through how the land came to be, and the culture and different stories of the different stories that you could use as like setting hooks and explanations as to why these skirmishes are taking place. then we get into the introduction of the game itself. And this is what prompted me to, start looking at different size tables. So we have here the short, medium, and long distances that you use as, using measuring sticks. This is my short and my long. I used straws, and I just cut down some straws to match up with the sizes. Somewhere I lost my short straw. So, but I'm not going to need to use that when I show you, my solution. So when I was looking and I started seeing that the table setup that I had was just not large enough to have a good playing surface for this. So when I was looking at the table size, of 600 by 600 millimeters, and then I looked at 900 by 900, I did a, very quick calculation, and I came up with, 900 and 900 came out to about 35, 35 inches. And so I bought a 34 by 34 table. Now, once I had that table, I did the conversion, and I basically came up with, 3 inches, 5 inches, and 7 inches. So once I had a table surface of that size, and I have the mats, and I'll show you one of the mats that I did pick up. Just like I said, the other mat was not going to work out. So I picked up these mats. So they're double-sided mats. I got them on Amazon. It's $12 and change for 4. All right, and they are 8 by 11. So I knew that I had to get 3 packs of them. So a little over 30 some odd dollars. And so for 30 some odd dollars, I end up with a playing surface of 32 by 34. So close enough to use this 900 by 900 measurement. So now I don't need to bother with straws, or sticks or whatever to measure out. Now I just know that I can just count the number of hexes. Also, by getting a sturdier, dry erase board, on the other side is the boxes where I can easily make a mega dungeon for Against Darkness. So I'm going to put this back over here and get back to talking about the actual game mechanics. So in my starting scenario, and I'll drop this down so you can see it a little better, you create 400-point armies or skirmish parties. And so, you just go through the book, and they have the armies in the back, and I'll bring that up so that you can take a look at. So if I wanted to create a Lizard Man skirmish party, and then it tells you the points cost, so you can see in the first one there, it's for juvenile Lizardman warriors with hand weapon, their point cost is 32. Their quality is a 4+, and their combat is a 3. And so as you're building your army up, going up to a maximum of 4 points, you then list them like I did here. So this is my Dwarven skirmish party. 1 leader that costs 90 points. Then I have 4 trained crossbowmen, 4 trained heavy axe with shield. Then I have that's heavy axe with something else. I forget what that actually says there. 3 light infantry and 1 green light infantry. So these are standard. That's a lesser experience, and that came out to 399 points and 13 figures. My Goblin skirmish squad, pretty much the same kind of breakdown. 15 figures in all, 398 points. So two fairly balanced groupings. Now, you can have wood elves, orcs, dwarves, goblins, and then various humans. Now, there's different categories of of combatants in this. You have the standard combatants, and then you have what are called personalities. And I'll bring up a real quick personality here under dwarves. So I'll let you focus in on. There's a couple personalities right there. You have the hero swordsman with shield personality, and the leader swordsman with shield personality. I'll wait for my camera to stop dipping so I can catch focus. Nope, it's going to still dip. Catch up. All right, let's just hold it. It's not. I guess it's just too much movement. Sorry about that. So the next thing I wanted to show you. So the way the system works is that you also need 3 dice. So you're rolling 3d6, and you want to determine. You get to select. How many actions do I want my character to? How many actions do I want my character to have, and if they match their quality number or better, then they will get an action. A roll of a 6 is always an action. A roll of a 1 is always a fail. If they roll below their action, then it gives the opponent's side an action during your turn. If you roll 2 fails, then the other side, if you are playing against a second player, or even if you're doing solo and you're playing it straight up, they can opt to take over your turn. And so your turn ends, and then they pick up. Each action allows you to either move or attack, or multiple actions. You can move that character and attack. So let me show you very quickly the setup that I have here for it, and I am just going to try to bring the camera over. And so now, so here are the pieces that I'm using, and I think it's oriented upside down for you, so I'm just going to rotate it. There we go. So I use just these are 1/2-inch base clips, and 1/2-inch base clip, you get about 12 to a box for, less than $2, I believe. And then these are free little paper miniatures that I got off of Pinterest. And so you can just print these out, and there you have, very cheap little armies rather than, spending money on miniatures. These are slightly larger. I use these for the personalities. So there you have a dwarf with a sword and a shield, and here I have a halfling rogue, which is, there are halfling personalities as well. You could have halfling armies. This here is another dwarf, so a dwarf cleric. So I'm kind of running, a little bit dwarf heavy, and here is an elven archer, which, so what I'm planning on doing is I'm planning on doing a scenario where it's four personalities versus a goblin skirmish, army. And then once, if you can see so this is the whole board, so quite large board that I'm using here, and my dry erase markers. So I'm really getting ready to, run my very first scenario here, and and see how that goes. But I anticipate that it's going to work quite well. So now, get myself reset up here, and come back over here. So a little bit of an investment, but I don't mind making one-time investments. Getting the table and getting the whiteboards. I'm going to have multiple uses of those things anyway, and so one-time layouts, of some additional money for a lifetime worth of gaming is not really that bad. Plus, the other bonus of buying the table is like $35, is that it serves a dual purpose. When we have parties or whatever, it becomes a snack, a dessert table for dinner parties. So it was the way I sold it to my wife, in getting that. So I highly recommend the game. I mean, I didn't really go into very much detail on on all of the rules and the game mechanics, as far as you do have movement. You have, oppositional dice rolling. You have the various units have different traits, and so it gives them bonuses and advantages as they're fighting. There is a magic system as well, and so there are magic items, and it's very much a role-playing game in the sense that it has all of those elements. It has a backstory. It has a lore. It has, it has fantasy. It has fantasy armies that you can use. They do have spells and such that you would think of, and you can very easily make the crossover between, playing four personalities that you can recreate in Four Against Darkness, which is a traditional role-playing game, just that it's solitaire, but and tie it into this this Fantasy Skirmish Miniatures rule game. And so I'm certainly glad to have picked it up. Can't wait to really dig into it and start to develop beyond the basic understanding of the rules. And so that way I can, gain more experience playing with it. And then, once I feel really comfortable, then I'll go to my local comic book store and perhaps get a game going with some players there, and see how it works out, along with some of the other things that I'm looking to do. I am looking to expand and get a little bit more live play into my hobbying. So thank you for joining, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen very soon. So you all have a good weekend.